Good morning. Welcome to Loaded Mag in UFC. This is the reaction show to last night's game, Liverpool versus Newcastle United. A bit to discuss, boys. But before we get into the game, how are things with everyone? Pete, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit worse for wear. Out celebrating my mate's birthday last night, so I went to watch the game out and about. But yeah, no, I feel all right. I feel good. Good night with the lads. And you know the great thing about it, and I was going to say to you boys before we went live, great thing about it is after the game, my battery died on my phone. So I didn't have to read it. It was bliss. Didn't have to read any nonsense after that game. No social media, nothing, and that was the greatest thing about last night. So, really enjoyed it. Good night out with the lads. And yes, we have to go and relive all this all over again. But this is what we do. Chris, how are you, fellow? How's things?
A little bit similar to you, Pete. I was laughing to myself before because, and I'm sure you boys know what I'm talking about. You know, sometimes when you go out for a pint and you're not that up for it, and like you're almost nursing it a little bit. Well, last night was not one of those nights. As soon as the glass hit me lips, I was like, "Ooh, it's going down nice." This and that. You know, I'm building up to the game. I'm positive. And yeah, so I ended up having like 4 or 5 pints, which I wasn't expecting. And then shot home at half time. Got back to watch the second half, but at half time, obviously things were looking a little bit bleak. But still positive. But yeah, on a personal level, mate, I'm fine. Yeah, just feeling a bit worse for wear. A bit sorry for myself today. Not just physically, but also emotionally. Haven't watched that. But no, looking forward to obviously coming on here and talking with you boys. And hopefully we can see some positives within last night's game. I'd like to see them, but hopefully we can find some. Daz, how are you doing, mate?
Maybe in the first half an hour we can find some positives. I'm okay. The only thing that's getting me through this is there's a bank holiday in Ireland tomorrow, so a day off. And the sun is out as well. So look, we'll struggle through this. Yeah, we'll get through this game. Then we'll ask a few questions and we will move on. Let's do this. Right. This is the team news for Newcastle United. This is how we lined up. So, no Bruno. Wasn't even with the squad. No striker on the pitch. Anthony Gordon up front. No Miley. He was on the bench. No Botman on the bench. Now, I think there was said as well, I saw some tweet that they weren't fully right, both Botman and Miley. So that's why they did not start. And then that was had implications on the formation that Eddie was going to play. He was going to play something similar, I believe, or this is what was led to believe, to what we saw against PSG. But then he altered it to try and work. But what did you make of the selection, Pete?
Yeah, I was surprised by the Newcastle lineup. I was surprised that we didn't go for a similar setup to the PSG game. Obviously, you just mentioned there were reasons for that. Yeah, I had heard Eddie Howe after the game. He said Sven Botman had a tight thigh. Nothing serious, but like a tight thigh. Was advised not to risk him, although I think he was willing to play. Louis Miley couldn't bend his leg in the appropriate ways, apparently. Couldn't bend his knee in the ways that were necessary for him to play. That's a little bit worrying. These come from the words of Eddie Howe. This is what Eddie Howe said. So that's why those two players didn't play. It seems like Sven Botman's is not serious, but it sounds like Miley's is a little bit more serious than I think people may think if he can't bend his knee properly. Anyway, very, very shocked and surprised at... I'm just going to go straight to it, lads. I'm surprised that 3 strikers were on the bench and Anthony Gordon was playing up front. That was the bit that shocked me about everything. Because 4-3-3 is our standard formation. I've got to be honest, lads. when you've got 3 strikers on the bench and Anthony Gordon's playing up front, if I'm one of those 3 strikers, I'm looking at it and going, what does that say about us? What does that say about us? That in one of our biggest games of the season, in a game that we believe that we can win, that Anthony Gordon's playing up front and we're on the bench. Over £100 million worth of striking talent that's on the bench, that's not, in my opinion, that's not trusted to play a system that can beat Liverpool. That for me that for me in itself is a big concern. It really is.
Can I pause you there, Pete? Because Dale makes a great point. Sort of just before the.
I haven't seen the chat, so sorry.
Yeah, he's saying kind of align with what you're saying. He says, I think it says it all about the current state of Newcastle United when we look a better team without either of our 125 million recruited strikers from the summer.
It's a really telling state of our attacking situation. It really is. That was the biggest shock for me. And look, I'm sure we'll get into it. I thought he did all right. I thought he played well. But it's not about Anthony Gordon. This isn't about Anthony Gordon for me. It's more so about the other 3. I think it's a big concern. I'm sure we'll get into it anyway. But that was just my only real thing. The Liverpool team's a Liverpool team. Didn't really care. Wasn't really interested in their lineup. I kind of assumed what it would be anyway. Roughly, I think we pretty much got it as close as it needed to be on the big match preview when Errol brought out his 11. So, yeah, that was the big thing for me. But Chris, anything else to pick out from that from the lineup, mate?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, really, Pete. The only other thing I'd say is I was, excuse me, I was concerned. I wanted to see 5 at the back. I think going to Anfield, I think the Anfield game and obviously the Park Prince game against PSG were very, very similar. So I think it needed 5 at the back. But you raise a good point in the striker department. And a few of my mates were messaging me, pinging me at that point, saying, "Where's Voltemada? Where's Vissa?" And I found myself asking the same question. And I did think, like you said, what does that say to them? I mean, Will Asula not so much, because I think deep down we all know. As does Will Asula, where his ranking is within this team. But Nick Voltemada and Johan Vissa will have probably been looking around thinking, right, so we not fancy today then. That's how I would have felt if I was a striker at Newcastle United and I'm benched and left winger is playing a striker. So yeah, I was disappointed. Obviously, we heard just before the game, didn't we, that Bruno didn't travel, which wasn't a big surprise, I suppose. The thing that, and maybe I'm wrong to say this, but the thing that baffled me was, we heard about Miley and we heard about Botman, but it's like, well, why put them on the bench? Why put them on the bench? Because if we don't want to play them, then it surely, really, you could argue they're taking up 2 places on the bench, aren't they? Because, especially from what you've said about Miley, I hadn't heard that piece. But if that's the case, he was never stepping foot onto the pitch then, was he? Ever.
No.
So
he was told not to use them, Chris. Yeah. That's what Eddie Howe said. He was told not to use either player. I think his words, sorry to interrupt, but just his words, basically what Eddie Howe had said was that he was advised not to use either player. He wanted to give both players as long as an opportunity to be available, to the point where I think he said they warmed up. He was like, they might warm up and feel like they're able to play. And I think he gave them every opportunity to be able to play. But it was more so he was advised. I'm assuming it's James Bunt that's probably said, best not risk these because it could turn into something worse. I think that's pretty much what he was saying.
And Chris, yeah. I'm going to jump in as well. Sorry,
no, go on, mate.
Another example is Bruno wasn't there. He wasn't in the squad, but yet he was on the bench for PSG. So he definitely wasn't never going to. And I know he's there as in the cheerleading capacity, I guess more than anything else. Give him a costume. He can be the mascot in those kind of situations. But there's at least have someone on the bench then that can actually like
Like-
even put another keeper or something. I don't know. It doesn't make any real sense to me then in that sense. But sorry, carry on, Chris.
No, and to be honest, the last point I was going to make, and I didn't know when to make this point, but maybe the start is the best time to make this point. Shame on TNT. Shame on TNT.
Coming.
And I'm not being funny. And people say it doesn't matter. It has no effect on the game. I get that. But you're telling me that TNT felt that in that studio they should have Steven Gerrard, former Liverpool legend, Joe Cole, former Liverpool player, and Steve McManaman, former Liverpool legend. No representative whatsoever to Newcastle United, and that's fine. I honestly I think that's really shitty. I really, really do, because I obviously I saw a little bit of the build up. Didn't hear much because I was in the pub at the time, but I thought, what is all that about? If I was the the managing director, or I don't know the different grades within TNT, I'd be asking questions and going, who's brought them for you? There's no Newcastle no Newcastle representation whatsoever. Not even someone who played for Liverpool and Newcastle. Just nothing. And I just thought that was really, really, really poor. Now, anyone watching this back, any Liverpool fans, they go, you just moaning because you lost and stuff like that. But this day and age, boys, we see, don't we? We see female representation on the panel, which, some people will say rightly, some people will say wrongly. But you can't even get down to basics of having a Newcastle representative on the panel. I just think it's really poor. Really, really, really poor. I have to say. Really
They're saying Lindsay was the Newcastle rep there. Lindsay.
The presenter. Yeah, she is Newcastle.
She's a fan, but she's not a former Newcastle player.
She can't really pass comment, can she?
She's a presenter. She has to stay neutral to that. Yeah. And if you're a guest, you can put your colours to the mast, which I'm the same. I didn't really watch the build-up because they kept Sky on in the pub and then went to TNT just before kick-off. I think the players were in the tunnel. So we didn't see any of the build-up. And I don't really watch it anyway, to be honest, for that exact reason, Chris, because I'd never expect them to ever have a Newcastle representation. It's all right. They pull it out for Champions League, though. It's just not like they haven't got. It's not like they haven't got representation. Yeah. They said they choose not to. For me, it just tells me where the production team. I'm going a little bit deeper here. It tells me where the production team lies. The production team and managers for that particular show and for that particular game. It was very clear where their colours were. Their colours were for Liverpool. They wanted Liverpool to win. And that's how they present it. They don't put it straight down the middle. Sky just as bad. Sky's just as bad. But I think I'm a little bit more just resigned to it now. I just expect it. But yeah. You're right.
But you've got the likes of Shay Given who's been on there. You've got Les Ferdinand who's been on there. It's like you say, Pete. It's not difficult. It's really, and even to a point. Even if they brought on like a Rio Ferdinand or a Robbie Savage or someone like that, someone who's got neither bias to either club. Some people might go, well, why are they there? But I'd rather someone who's completely unbiased than just all Liverpool.
Yeah,
definitely.
Great.
It's whether they didn't also have Peter Crouch in there as well, just to
make it may as well
more of it. Yeah. At least it'd be funny. But look, I had to say that was my opening point as well, Chris. It was like LFC TV really more so than TNT. But let's get into the game. Newcastle with the best of the opening exchanges. McAllister looking to try get Gordon an early card when he needed life support. Gordon does get a yellow though as he tries to rob Allison late again. A bit of deja vu there, but he was right to try it. It was there to be got at, so fair play to Gordon there. 14 minutes, Willock does well to get back to halt Gapco. 16 minutes, Pope save from Ekitike. Plenty of corners for Newcastle, but they're not taking advantage of them. Barnes hits the post then as he's where he takes a free kick, and it's very unlucky that didn't go in. he bended in towards the goal. More corners for Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle set up in a 4-3-3 and then a kind of a 4-5-1 out of possession. Byrne nearly in on an open goal as the kind of cross evades everyone bar Van Dijk from the whole ball across. Then on 32 minutes, Popey save from Ekitike, trips tidies up. 35 minutes then, Willock carries the ball, nearly reaches Barnes, but not to worry, it gets to Gordon. Gordon then applies the finish to make it 1-0 as he slots it past Allison. Thoughts on Gordon's goal, boys? Well deserved for Newcastle.
Absolutely. Really, really impressed with Newcastle's start. I thought we put Liverpool on the back foot quite early on, caused them a lot of problems on the counter-attack. I thought we would look really, really good. And I was just hoping and praying. Obviously, you talked about Barnes hitting the post from that from that free kicking. I was just praying and hoping we got the first goal. And when it went in, it was a lovely finish by Gordon, by the way. Really well played. Lovely, well-taken goal into the far corner. Finally, a goal in play from Anthony Gordon. Just over a year it took, but we got there in the end, and justly deserved is the words for me. We absolutely deserve to take the lead, fully justified. Brilliant goal all round, and I was really, really enthused by what I'd seen up until that point. Gordon giving the old ear signal to the fans. We can maybe interpret what we make of that and what we think of that. Maybe later on in the show, but really good goal, really good goal from Anthony Gordon. Well played, and I think that typified a really good start to the game for Anthony Gordon, who I thought up until that point was very, very good as the mainline striker. Happy days all round, and I think we should just end the show just there. Once we've all given our opinion about that goal, I think we should just decide off. Sign off with a Nick Bolton or something video package. We enjoy our Sunday.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. Smash that like button. See you next season. Chris, that goal go down well with your pint.
Oh, mate. I did exactly the same as I always do. I'm sitting, just to put you in the picture, sitting in this bar in where I'm from in Nevin, and sitting in the bar. And I can see, there's loads of reds, obviously, a few blues in there too. And I'm thinking, right, okay, if this goes off, I'm just gonna have to, bit of decorum, hold me peace or stuff like that. And thought, it's local to where I live as well, so I know a few people in there, and I'm like, don't go over the top. When I say I know them, they know me, and I let on to them, but they probably don't know I'm a Newcastle fan at this point. And then Gordon scores, and like 1 minute, my thumb's bruised. I thought I'd fractured my thumb. I started banging on the bar. I then ran over to my brother-in-law. I'm banging on his table. I'm going mental, and you can see people looking, just going like, he can't be a blue, because there was loads of blues celebrating at this point. By the way, there was loads of blues like buzzing off it, and there's me just going mental. And then straight after that, I'm thinking someone could just come over and chin me now at this point, because I'd really gone over the top. But I can't help it, and it shows how much I want us to beat Liverpool. Obviously, we had the Carabao Cup final win, which was immense. But I want to beat them in the league, and to do it at Anfield. So great goal, fantastic run down the left. I think it was from Willock. Ball in. We got a little bit fortunate because I think it went to Harvey Barnes and bounced off the Liverpool player. But Gordon finished it really, really well. Went through Kirkes's legs into the bottom corner. Nothing really Allison could do about it. But 1-0, and I thought, what a great start to the first half. And I kept saying to my brother-in-law when I was sat there, I was going, we're playing great here. We're really putting it to them. And Liverpool looked shaky. We had a couple of moments you mentioned, as when we hit the post. We were asking a lot of questions of Liverpool, which was great. And my thoughts about the lineup and the formation had kind of been put to bed at this point, because I thought, this is working. We're doing really, really well. Let's go make it 2. That's where I was when Gordon made it 1-0.
Right, we played on a bit further. 38 minutes. Gordon had another shot and it was saved by Allison. 39 minutes. Salah had a shot saved by Pope. He was offside in any case. 40 minutes, so 5 minutes. Our lead lasted. Hugo Ekitike, whatever you're having yourself, makes it 1-1 after a good work by Florian Wirtz. Much to the light of the commentary as well. Cut to the rat in the stand. On top of that, jeez, it was all set up for them, really, wasn't it? This drama. Boys, thoughts on that goal from the player we tried to sign twice?
Yeah, from Ekitike's perspective, lovely goal. Really good feet from Wirtz. Ekitike being ready to pounce in the box, pokes it home. So frustrating because if you watch the goal back, obviously it's great feet from Wirtz and he pulls it back, but Trippier falls over. He slips over and he's on the floor. And had he not slipped over, when that ball gets pulled back, he clears the ball. And it just, all in that moment, it's just like, what if? I mean, he shouldn't have been able to dance through that easily, Wirtz, to be able to square that ball back. But even so, in that moment, Trippier is obviously on the back step. He falls over and you can see him on the floor because his hands are on the ground and he's trying to get back up. But in that moment, as he's trying to get back up, the ball's already got pulled back. He would have been there. That's the biggest frustration for me because it could have and should have been avoided. But this is it. We just seem to buckle under the pressure. They just turn the screw just up a little bit, turn that notch up a little bit, and all of a sudden it was like panic stations. We're all over the place. Like we just weren't staying with the markers. We weren't staying in position. The system wasn't set, and they just exploited it. But yeah, from Ekitike's point of view, a good goal, nice finish from him. But yeah, from our point of view, it didn't look good. It wasn't defended well, and a little bit unfortunate as well with the Trippier fall and allowed him to get that ball in. But it's just typical Newcastle. You like at that point, you're 1-0 up. We were looking like we're going for the second, and it's like, let's just get to half time. Get to half time, get in there in the changing rooms at 1-0, and let's regroup. And we just can't do it. We just let things slip all the time in these big moments, and it's just so frustrating. It just drives me mad. But yeah, Ekitike, what can you say? He's a quality player, class finish.
Chris, were you getting lots of looks now at this stage, considering what happened 5 minutes earlier for you in the pub?
Yes, I had a Liverpool fan come over to me and he said, you would, honest to God, the phrase that he used, you would have thought that he watched loaders because he come over to me and leant in and went, how'd you like that?
Great age.
How'd you
like that?
How'd you like that? And I did laugh because I thought, well, fair play, you've come over to me. And second of all, I said to him, listen, just so you know, I said, I am a Newcastle fan. I said, I'm not a bitter blue. And he was like, oh, fair play to you, lad, fair play to you. He said, oh, fair enough, you're celebrating and all that. But yeah, he knew it was game on then, as did I. Now, in terms of the goal, really, really frustrating. And it felt like that attack went on forever. Because me and my brother-in-law were actually having a conversation because he was going, oh, you'll be all right, be all right. I was like, I don't like this. And at one point, I did watch it back. I watched it back this morning. I watched it back when I got home as well. The thing I didn't like about it was, Pete's pointed out, Trippier slipped, but we had 9 players in that box. We had 9 outfield players plus Nick Pope. So there was 10 Newcastle players in that box. And Florian Wirtz dances through. I'm not playing down Florian Wirtz's moment of skill. He did really, really well for it, don't get me wrong, but this is the danger, isn't it, when players get into the box because everyone's petrified of making the tackle just in case you mistime it and you give away a penalty, but you can't allow them in that box. You can't allow the players to get in the box. And I mean, I didn't count, but I'd love to see how many Liverpool players were actually in that box because it felt like it was only Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike, but we had 9 outfield players in that box. And for Florian Wirtz to dance his way through, ping it across, obviously Trippier slipped. You'd think someone would be a bit closer or someone would be able to put a block in. Really, really frustrating, disappointing. And yeah, I was a little bit worried at that point. And I've got a funny story for you for the second goal as well, Daz. You will enjoy this.
Oh, Willock, because I didn't enjoy the goal. But yeah, 41 minutes. Willock is nearly in. He gets crowded out. 42 minutes. A whole 2 minutes later, Hugo Ekitike makes it 2-1. Given far too much room. Obviously, the keeper, Allison, collects the ball from the ball boy as well really quickly and launches it. Makes its way to Ekitike. And yeah, as I said, way too much room. And against the run of play in this half, Newcastle now find themselves 2-1 in the game. But let's go to Pete first. His thoughts on the goal.
Yeah, shot goal, shot defending. Simple as that. Switched off. Trippier gets caught on the halfway line. Why is that far up the pitch? I've got no idea. Ridiculous that he was that far away from the rest of his defence. So that's poor positioning from him. The ball gets played through to Ekitike. Got to say, it's really bad defending from Malik Chow. It's really, really bad defending. You're giving... Fabian Schär has this knack of allowing a player the space to shoot. He does it on occasions and it really annoys me. I've said it on here before on various match reactions. I don't like when he does it, but Malik Chow has done exactly the same. He's basically he's moving out the way to allow Ekitike to shoot. He should be driving him away from goal. He should be getting closer to him to push him further wide, to get him away from being able to be in a shooting position. But he moves further away from him to allow him to draw in. And he actually opens up the space for him to shoot. It's just such bad defending. It's really, really bad. And we know how great Malik Chow's been for us this season. He's been so good. You know, pretty much played every single game since he's come in. But that's really bad defending on his part there. And he's just allowed Ekitike in. And what a finish. What a finish. It's a fantastic finish. You can call it a toe poke. You can call it like caressing it into the far corner, on like whatever you want to call it. It's a great finish. There's no way Pope's getting anywhere near it. It's literally right into the corner of the net, right next to the post. There's nothing you can do about it, but we should be defending that better. You're away at Liverpool. You 1-1. It's right near half time. You've got to see that out. You've got to defend it. You've got to push him wide. It's just poor. It's just poor all round. Poor from Trippier, who wasn't good yesterday at all. A really poor performance from him. The levels of the drop off of levels is mad. It's really mad. But Chow, really poor. And I said to my mate next to me, watching the game, Liverpool fan who was celebrating like mad right next to me, and I'm just like, get me out of here. But I said, game's gone. Game's done at that point. Sorry, lads. I know we've got another half to go through, and it's not pleasant reading. But at that moment, when we went 2-1 down, I did not believe that we were going to get back in that game. I just didn't have any belief in us because of how easily we let that that 1 goal lead slip. And that was me. I was
Shades of Marseille there as well. Just like just the timing of the goal, 2 goals in quick succession, not everything else linked around it. But yeah, Chris, your thoughts on and what's this funny story as well for the second goal?
Oh, it's just usual, really. As I missed the goal. I was in the toilet. So they just equalised, and I thought, right, and I was down for the loo, so I thought I'll just quickly run the loo. Goes the loo, comes back, and I heard like a ripple. It wasn't like a big ripple, but I heard a ripple, and I thought, nah, can't have been a goal. That it would have been much louder. And then when I was walking back, I saw it was 2-1. But I have watched the goal back. Don't worry. Yeah, as Pete said, really, really poor for Malik Chow. And you know what? I don't want to sound like I'm just being a moan, but again, TNT, and I'm not taking anything away from the young lads. I'm not. It's great. He's doing his job and stuff, but like, going on about how the ball boy got the assist. It's like, come on. Like, like I'm not being funny. He, rather than go an extra 4 yards, he goes and gets he gets a ball that's, you know, like live kind of thing. It's in front of him, rather than pick up the ball that's on the, you know, on the, I forget what they're called, where you normally place the ball on the little round thing. Yeah, like the cone. Yeah. But like they made out that he made that goal, and it's like, no, because if you watch the goal back, we made that goal for Liverpool. Really, Pete's made the point. Trippier was way out of position. Not quite sure why he was so high up. Ball gets, you know, played down the line. And for me, and I haven't really seen him do it this season, but it felt like Malik Chow was almost having a gamble. It was as if, go on, there's your space. Go and run into it. I'll beat you for pace. And then he quickly realises that he's up against Hugo Ekitike. He was very, very quick. And he just gives him too much space, and it's a great finish from Hugo Ekitike. Can't take it away from him. You know, people, you know, may call it an old-fashioned toe poke, but he very much means it. He very much means it, and he puts it right in the corner and gives Pope an almost impossible task because Malik Chow's given him too much space, too much time, and too much space. Now, if Malik Chow had just ran in and just thought, I'll intercept this, I'll cut the space down, it probably wouldn't have gone in. Malik Chow probably would have put it out for a throw, maybe even a corner at worst case. But Malik Chow, it was as if he was saying to Hugo Ekitike, "Go on, let's see who gets there first. Let's see if you can beat me for pace." And he does. He beats him for pace. But it was an unnecessary thing to do. So yeah, very, very disappointing from our point of view. But yeah, good finish from Hugo Ekitike. I had all my red mates at that point going, "Oh, Hugo this, Hugo that." I said, "But I was telling you about this a couple of years ago. I told you about them." So this is no surprise to me. Hugo Ekitike doing what he was doing is no surprise to me. He you know, he's a very, very good striker, and he can hurt you. But you're right to point out, Daz, like the timing of it was just dreadful, and it shows how bad those last 10, 12, 13 minutes were, because I found myself thinking, just go in 2-1 half time. I'll take 2-1 now. I'll take it, because they looked like they were in the ascendancy. Because as soon as that second goal went in, like the heads just went on Mars, and it could have been 3-1. It really, really could. So yeah, I'm just thinking at this point, just get to 2-1 half time, get the lads back in the dressing room, work it out, make some changes, and try and get the first goal. Because if you get the first goal in that second half, you're back in the game. And ultimately, that's not what happened. But yeah, very frustrating. Looked fantastic when we went up to 1-0, and then to concede 2 goals like that is just Pete's right. You know, it did feel like the game had run away with us at that point. And yeah, it just had marks, didn't it, of previous years where we've watched Newcastle Liverpool and just gone, "Oh, for sake." That's where my head was at that point.
Right, I could have cut off from the game for a sec, because I just see Marcus Leonardo has gone to Atletico Madrid, the player that I talked about 3 years ago, who went from, at the time he was at Santos, then he went to Benfica, then on to Al Hilal, and now he's gone to Atletico Madrid. Get involved, Newcastle, in some of these players. Right,
we've got no chance, man. No chance.
Yeah. Oh no, not now. But get involved when he was at Santos. That's what get Ryan, who got an assist there for Bournemouth when he in his first game there yesterday as well. Who you were talking about, Pete. Let's get into the second half, because we have that first half done. That was there's spoiler alert. There's no highlights for us in the second half.
Do we have to do the second half? We really?
Do you want me to pause at the goals, boys, or do you want me to give you the whole details and then talk about it? You have a choice here.
Me personally, I would say just run through it, man.
Run through it as fast as I can. Right. Okay. Here we go. 48 minutes. Pope save from Szoboszlai. 50 minutes. Burn fucks up. Ekitike in should have finished to get his hat trick. 59 minutes. Barnes shot and saved by Allison. Offside. Good shot, and the save was equal to it. 66 minutes. A poor attempted pass from Malik Chow is cut out. Florian Wirtz punishes Newcastle 3-1. Salah should have then gone on to make it 4 2 minutes later, 71 minutes. All-out attack from Eddie Howe. He takes off Langa, Barnes, and Willock and brings on Wissa, Murphy, and Baltimore. Going for a comeback here, question mark. 77 minutes, Gordon has a shot just wide. 83 minutes, Asula on trips off. 88 minutes, another sub, haul off. Alex Murphy on 92 minutes. Pope loses the ball. A bit of a mix-up with the defence there. Konaté scores as the ball trickles over the line. 4-1, full-time, game over. Thank you and good night. Any thoughts?
Honestly, I knew the game was done at half-time, but I did not think that was going to end up in a 4-1 game. I thought we'd have more about us to stop them scoring another 2 goals. And to score the goals the way they did, oh my God. The defending was bad enough in the first half. It got worse in the second half. Honestly, we just capitulated as a team, as a unit. We just capitulated. We were all over the place. The subs that you talked about that came on made the team worse, in my opinion. Baltimore, Wissa, was it Murphy, the other sub? By this point, everything was a blur. I've got to be honest.
It was a blur.
It wasn't because of the drink. It wasn't because of the drink. It was because I just literally everything blurred into one watching that game in the second half. But that front three that came on for the other front three actually made the team worse. The balance of the team was off. At that point, it looks like, it sounds really bad, but it looks like they're just throwing on players for the sake of it, not with any sort of like intrinsic kind of strategy to play a certain way. It was just a case of give these 3 boys a rest. You 3 go on and try and make something happen. There was no thought process behind it. That's how it came out to me, and it looked like it on the pitch because things were just all over the place. But defensively, I mean, Dan Burn was poor for that chance that you talked about and should have been punished for the goal, for Wirtz's goal. I don't know what our team are doing, but for the fact, again, that just inside the box, the ball gets squared and there's nobody around Wirtz when he just slammed it home. You got Konaté that's there. You got a centre-back that's there. It might even be Burn or it might...
It was Ben.
No, neither of them are even thinking about, okay, this could get put back. This could get like set back. Let's make sure that we're there on the edge. Where the hell is the marking? What is going on here? Why are these players not able to think for themselves in game that, oh, maybe I need to be here. Maybe I need to stop that player. So for me, I'm looking at Tonali there. I'm looking at Tonali. Tonali's desperate to make that run back beyond the defenders. No, mark your midfielder, the one that plays in the 10, the one that's going to be arriving on the edge of the box like his position suggests that he would. Why don't you stop him as you as the number 6? It just, come on. Just, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous that we can't manage that ourselves in games as individual players. It's ridiculous. And then the 4th goal is just the cherry on top for just a shit night. I mean, come on. It was like, and I don't know about you boys, but about 5, in that last 3 or 4, maybe even 5 minutes, it looked like to me, and I said it to my mate Chris, I was like, Konaté's looking for a goal here. Because all of a sudden, he became really active in the box and he was really looking to try and get on the end of things. And obviously, he's had a difficult time. I think he lost his father in the last week. So I think he's going through a difficult moment. He was very emotional when he got the goal. But you could tell he was looking for a goal. And it was just like, we're going to give him a goal here, aren't we? We're going to give him a goal. And we absolutely did. I mean, look, Nick Pope wasn't bad on the night. I think he made a few good saves. Couldn't really do too much about either goal in the first half. And the Wirtz goal as well, but that is just a calamity of errors, you know, collecting the ball and then just dropping it, and then it just everything about it. The collecting of the ball, you think he's got it, then he drops it, and then there's a player in the way, so he can't get there, and then it's the worst shot in history, and you just see it in slow motion, just roll and roll and roll, and you see him like it's like honestly, it felt like a movie.
Motion.
You see slow motion Pope dropping further and further down. It's like he goes from one leg, two legs to one leg to one knee, and he's got his arm out, and then he tries to swipe it. It all felt like it was slow motion, and it's just like, oh my God, how are we conceding this goal? And it literally just trickles over the line. It's just like, oh, and that, I'm just like, just ref, blow the damn whistle, man. Just get me to May. Get me to May. Get me this season done. Honestly, I'm done with this season, because I tell you what, lads, I'm sorry, this ain't over. We are going to see performances like this between now and the end of the season. We are going to have these difficult conversations. Anyone that's watching, we've got, 350 watching live now on a Sunday morning, nearly afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. But we are going to be having more of these conversations. Us as Newcastle fans will be discussing this more, because I'm telling you, we will win games this season and we'll be happy. But we will see more performances like this. This is Newcastle United this season. Unfortunately, whether we want to hear it or not, this is the reality.
Can it get any worse, Pete?
It can.
And you know what? Wednesday, Etihad, it may well do.
Chris, had you met at home by that stage?
Yeah, I'm home. I'm home at this point. Yeah, really, really poor goal to concede that third one. Yeah, Charles loses the ball, doesn't he? And yeah, it's just really simple, boys. It goes back to basics, which is what we've been speaking about for weeks on here. It goes back to basics. Lewis Hall isn't tight enough to Mo Salah. Then he scurries along to try and get to Mo Salah. Mo Salah realises, I'm probably not going to get the better of Lewis Hall here. I'll have a little look up. Oh, look, there's Florian Wirtz on the edge of the box with nobody on him. I'll pass it to him. In fact, he might have been in the box. I think Flo Wirtz was in the box. And Dan Burn is on him. Then looks and thinks, oh, I'll get back into position in case Salah maybe tries to take on Hall. Not thinking, well, actually, I might want to keep hold of, Florian Wirtz, who stood right there on his own. So he gets pulled back into position, back into that left centre-back position. And then Florian Wirtz is just stood there going to Mo Salah as the ball. And then all he has to do is just hit it. And it's just such a basic, simple goal to concede. But we've seen these a few times this season, and we're probably going to see more of them. And then the fourth goal, yeah. I mean, it's an ongoing frustration, isn't it? I think I've told you boys, long gone are the days where I used to call for Nick Pope to be England #1, or we did. I think that was a good 3 seasons ago. And you can see why he's not included in this England setup, because unfortunately he did have a pretty decent game. He made some pretty decent saves. But when you've got that in your locker, you can't have that. You can be the best goalkeeper in the world, but for 80, 88, 89 minutes. But if you're able to do something like that, unfortunately, you just get labelled a calamity. And yeah, it was at that point the phone started blowing up. Nick Pope's at it again. Oh, look, Nick Pope gifting another goal. It's just so frustrating. And yeah, you're right, Pete. Like, it was a terrible shot from Konaté, and it was all it needed was that I don't even know the name of it. That silly music where it goes. That's all it needed, because the ball is bobbling like this, and everyone's trying to stop it. And Nick Pope's like literally clawing it, and it's like, oh my God, it's just embarrassing at this point. And yeah, I'm thinking of Man City midweek. I'm thinking of the next Premier League game, and I'm just like, oh God, just like, what? If someone offered me 8th now, I'd probably just go, yeah, do you know what? Sod it. Let's just take it. If someone could said you can finish 8th now and you can start next season, I would. Because again, it's a game of 2 halves, isn't it, boys? Like, first half, first 35 minutes-ish, fine. But it's Jekyll and Hyde, but we've seen it all season. And you made a great point, Pete, as well about the subs, because I was interested, because I thought, oh, he's thrown Baltimore and Visser on here. Oh, what are we? But it wasn't in the sense that, oh, things are going to happen. It was in the sense that, oh, let's just throw them on. Let's just throw them on. Let's rest the players. Let's throw them on. Let's see what they do. But there didn't seem to be any kind of idea, or plausible formation or tactics where you thought, oh, we're trying something different. It was just, just lash him on. And yeah, I didn't like it. I really, really didn't like it. And in the end, I unlike you, Pete, the beer started kicking in for me then, because it all just blurred into one. And I'm watching it on the couch, and I'm just like, the second half was just a non-performance for me. Obviously, we had that Harvey Barnes chance early on in the second half when it was 2-1, and Alisson made a good save. But other than that, I can't really think of any really big chances. But the game was done. The game was done, and it's sad. And but unfortunately, not unexpected, because Liverpool turned up. Liverpool got the win. Liverpool did enough. And we simply didn't. And what's disappointing about it is the fact that this isn't the Liverpool of 2 years ago, where you kind of go, oh, they're a great team, though. Oh, they're playing really well, though. Oh, they are champions. This is a poor Liverpool side. We've seen the likes of Burnley, the likes of Leeds get points against them. And we didn't. We just rolled over, had our bellies tickled, and just went the R's. Somebody in the chat, I think it was a Liverpool fan himself, he summed it up quite nicely. I was reading it and just going, oh, Row 859. Can I just say thank you to Newcastle for letting us buy Ekitike? Thank you for letting Isak go, and thanks for the 6 points, and thanks for letting us score 7 past you this year. And it's just, in fact, no, I think it wasn't it. You've scored 8 past us this year, haven't you? Was it 8? Or no, was it 7? Maybe it was 7. Yeah, it was 3-2, wasn't it? It was 3-2 the first one. But yeah, just really frustrating, really annoying, really irritating, and particularly where I live. It just makes it worse. But yeah, I'm not confident going into next week, put it that way.
God, how do we pick ourselves up from that? I don't know, boys. Is there one positive anyone can take from that game? Willock played well in the first half, I thought.
Willock's form. Lewis Hall, again, shining. Thought he was brilliant. Played really well, Lewis Hall.
Always.
Lewis Hall, Gordon, put Gordon scoring in play.
Yeah.
And that will give him a bit of a confidence boost. And this is the thing, like when I talked about it right at the beginning of the show, for anyone that missed it, when I was talking about the selection and why it gave a really negative light on our striking situation, which it absolutely does. That wasn't anything against Anthony Gordon. I actually thought he played that role really well. He tired, naturally he does in games. In the second half, he does tire. He doesn't work to that same intensity. I think that's why Eddie Howe tends to bring him off after between 60, 70 minutes for that reason. But up until then, I couldn't really fault him. I thought he executed the plan of what Eddie Howe wanted to do perfectly well. I thought Barnes did well. He wasn't as impactful as what you would maybe want him to be, but on the counter, I thought he created a number of chances, hit the post, was unlucky not to score. He was a threat in front of goal when we did have chances. There were a few positives to take, lads, but the reality is that for me, there's, it's going to be inconsistent. We are going to be inconsistent now between now and the end of the season. And that's the biggest frustration, because, we're moving further and further away from that top 5 spot, and we're not getting it this season. I've already resigned myself to that. We had a little bit of hope when we put those 3 wins together, and then it's quickly vanished. For me, this month, and I'm talking Premier League in itself, this month is sort of damage limitation. We've got winnable games now. The next few, Brentford at home, Tottenham away, who aren't great in themselves. Man City away, maybe not. And then you're going into, I think, that Everton and Man United, both at home. They're winnable games, but I'm just worried about the other games around it, in what state we're going to be in to turn up in those matches. If we're losing matches like this to Liverpool, and then we go get beat heavily at the Etihad, what mindset are the players going to be in come Brentford at home? And it's not because we can't win it. It's what mindset are we going to be in if we go and take another hammering at the Etihad on Wednesday night? What state are we going to be in? How are we then going to be feeling going into the Spurs game off the back of that, because we've got other games coming up. FA Cup, could we be knocked out of that? How are we then going to respond to the next match after that? That's what I'm worried about, because these games come thick and fast. We're not good away from home. Our away form is like diabolical for a team that we expect to be, right? For a team that should be, we're not, but should be fighting for Champions League this season and European football. Our away form is diabolical. It's literally relegation form. Our away form is. That is unacceptable. How can a team that has aspirations to be near the top of the table have such a bad away form? For me, and this is the thing that I don't get, lads, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of going off into a little bit of a rant. I don't get this mentality that we become a completely different team at home. It's not a slight change. It's chalk and cheese change. For me, that's a player mentality issue. That is a mentality issue. We can talk about subs and selections, and yes, some of those things people have got valid points on. Eddie Howe needs to take an L on some of those things. Some of the substitutions, like yesterday, were ridiculous. Like, why has he made them? They're pointless. It doesn't give Newcastle any kind of structure or conviction to win a game. We can argue that, and people will have valid points for that. But on a basic level, how can your mentality be so different that you can't approach your game in the same way because you haven't got 52,000 fans behind you? That is not elite mentality. That is not a mentality of a top level player that wants to be at the top. If you can switch on your performances at home because you've got a few thousand fans, but I'd say 50,000 fans behind you, but you can't switch it on when you go into a cauldron, you go into a different ground. And sometimes the atmospheres aren't even great in these grounds, but you can't turn it up there, and it being so different, for me, that's a massive concern. It's a concern for the mentality of some of these players. Some of these players can't handle it, because this should not be happening. Forget Liverpool for a second. We're going, what is it, 31 years now that we haven't won there. So park that to the side, because that's a club mentality going to Anfield, not necessarily these players. But I'm talking about Wolves away. I'm talking about West Ham. I'm looking at Brentford. I'm looking at some of these games that we've been to, Leeds early on in the season. I'm looking at some of these away games that we've been to, and I'm going, hold on a second. Old Trafford, to a fallen Man United team that were absolutely dire in their lowest moment in the season, and we couldn't even score there. I mean, come on. There's a mentality problem here. It really is a big, big issue. I'm sorry. There are certain players that just need... honestly, lads, and someone asked me the question, it was like, well, what's the significance about May? When I said, oh, just get me to May. I'm saying get me to May because I want this season done. In my mind, this season's done. Unless these boys can pull out some miracles again, and Eddie Howe can pull out yet another miracle for this team, this season's done. We are at best getting Europa Conference League, at best, because we're too inconsistent to be able to get anything more. I don't see us winning at Villa Park. I don't see us winning at the Etihad. And it might be a really negative opinion of me. And if people know me, the last 5 or 6 years we've been doing this, will know I'm normally very positive about Newcastle United. But I also know my club. I also know this team. And this team is not showing me anything to suggest that they're going to change this inconsistent form anytime soon. So I'm just like, you know what? We just need to get this season done. And we need to rip up the paper and start again. And I'm going to say it now, lads, and we'll talk about it obviously in May. There needs to be some big changes in the summer. I'm talking 1 or 2 of these players, these so-called big players that are important to Newcastle United, supposedly. Some of these need to move on, and we need to rip it up again. Some of these signings that we made in the summer, we need to accept defeat. We need to take the L and go, it didn't work. It wasn't the right signing, and we need to move it on. I'm sorry. We need to. No. And we really, really do, because this ain't working. It ain't working. And Newcastle United are no longer a project where you can build a player and be patient for a player for a year or 2. Oh, they'll eventually get there. You can't have David Hopkinson saying we want to be one of the biggest clubs in the world by 2030 and then expect to be building players for 2 or 3 years that you expect multi-million pounds on. You need players to come in and hit the ground running. You need players to come in and do it now. We are not a project team. We're not a Bournemouth where you can buy a player and see them develop over 2-3 years and maybe sell them on. We're not that. We're not a Crystal Palace. We're not a Brentford. We're not that. We need players to come in and actually start making the difference now and do it consistently. Because that's what Newcastle United ownership has built. They've built us and set us to be a team that is fighting at the top end of the table. And you have to make quick decisions. You have to make the right decisions. If you make the wrong one, you go, you know what? We made the wrong decision. We'll take the L. Let's make the change. And this is why it's even more baffling, lads, that we are not signing anyone in January. It makes it even more baffling. Bruno Guimaraes, injured. Don't know when he's going to be back. Eddie Howe even said, not even sure if he's even going to be available for Wednesday. Great. Not available. Captain. Joe Linton, also not available. Louis Miley, also not available. Don't know how long he's going to be out. Sven Botman, probably going to be back next game, certainly for Brentford, but minor injury. Not available. Tino Livramento, another 7 weeks or so, he's going to be out. That's 5 major players that are not available for Newcastle United. And you're telling me that we can't get a signing or two, or even a loan. Even Liverpool that spent 500 million are now going out and getting a right back because they need one. You've got Aston Villa that made a signing in Ivan Gessan in the summer. Within 6 months have gone, ain't working. What they do? Ship him off to Palace. Yeah, you ain't working for us. We'll get Tammy Abrahams in. Gessan, we paid a lot, paid 30 million for you, but actually, not working. Off you pop. There's examples of other clubs around us that are fighting for the same things that we are. They're actually actioning things. They're actioning things. They are admitting defeat on certain things that they made decisions on, but they're willing to make the changes. Why are Newcastle United not willing to make the changes? It doesn't make sense. And this ain't just on Eddie Howe. This is on the ownership. And I've been saying about the ownership more so recently, because I'm sorry, right? David Hopkinson can tell us all these great, amazing things that wants to happen. I need to see action on these things. Newcastle United fans need to see action on these things, right? Ross Wilson, he's been in situation for what, 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is. Still hasn't had an opportunity to show us his worth. Not been able to bring in a player. Why? What was the point? Might as well just wait until the summer and bring him in then. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. We've got him in now to get working on stuff.
Yeah.
But we've not even given him the opportunity to do his job. This is my point. We've got money there. There's no excuse. This ain't about PSR. When Eddie Howe says it, it's ridiculous. It's not about PSR. Why are we not doing it? Why are we standing still and becoming stale when all the other teams are looking to keep incrementally moving on and kicking on? We're falling behind. And this is the thing. This is why I'm like, you know what? Season's done. Because they're giving me and us no optimism about saving this football season. We are throwing it in the bin. We are literally throwing it in the bin. We're in 4 competitions still, but by the end of this month, there's a high chance that we're going to be in 1, maybe 2 with the Champions League. And the air of the season looks very different.
No, Pete, you are 100% correct. And I think Chris is aligned as well. And that's why
Totally.
this person put a question in at the start of the show. Yes, it was me, because it links exactly what you started in Super Chat there, lads. I hope you accept the question. But it says, how serious are our owners in making Newcastle number 1? Like the picture says there, number 1. I'm sure everyone has seen that video. It wasn't a load of shite, or is it a goal for Piff and Jamie Rubin? What is the goal here? It all stacks up to the very top. Where we're going. Where's the evidence to back up that they want to get to number 1? And have they lost interest in us? Like, what is going on? You named out loads of things there, Pete, that contribute towards getting towards anywhere near a number 1. and they're not doing anything about it. A lot of people will pile on Eddie Howe. Yes, he deserves criticism as well, but there's a lot more things as well that are not adding up here. And I just don't know where this is going, where this project is going now. There's a lot of promises, a lot of this, that, and the other, and a lot of talk, but it's not stacking up.
No. I've got. I mean, Pete made some really, really good points in there, and I want to ask Pete a question at the end. And I've got a feeling I know the answer, but it'd be just interesting to hear Pete's thoughts on the particular players. But yeah, I think it's a great question, Daz. And you know, we've heard a lot of talk about the training ground, which you know seemingly is now not far away from a final decision being made, or you know, we're hearing that we are getting a new training ground, but why are we in our 5th year and we're only just getting a new training grounds? We obviously made, you know, updates to our existing one, but the stadium, I can even go back to the badge. We were talking about changing the badge. Those plans got scrapped. We've had numerous directors of football. We've had numerous CEOs. And the biggest worry for me at the moment as well is we've screamed out for a couple of years now for a little bit of alignment. A bit of alignment between Eddie Howe and the board, and it feels at this moment like we couldn't be further aligned. Pete made the point about you know, Eddie Howe talking about PSR. That line can't be spun anymore. We've just sold our main striker for 125 million, and we all know that you know that can open up significant funds. Yes, we spent a lot in the summer, but there still should be money there. And these financial experts, such as Kieran Maguire, are coming out and saying, yeah, Newcastle have got money. There's money available. But even aside from that, we're seeing other clubs taking risks. The point you made, Pete, on Gessant, I think is a great one. Same with Donyell Mallon. Donyell Mallon, he out he went. They got rid. But again, they were being ruthless. Probably because Unai Emery's seen him and gone, not quite what I want. Let's roll the dice again. Let's try again. Same with Harvey Elliott. You know, brings him in on loan, quickly establishes he's not the player that he wants. So, he you know, he doesn't play him. And he basically says to his board, listen, like, this isn't working. You know, he's gonna have to leave. And loads of clubs are taking risks. But it feels like we just are unwilling to do so. When Eddie Howe's coming out, he's coming out in front of the media and he's saying, PSR, we're not going to be bringing anyone in. Then he says, you know, I wouldn't rule anything out. And then yesterday he gets asked again and he just says, no. But that to me screams of a little bit of discontent, people not being aligned. You mentioned, Pete, about Ross Wilson coming in and, you know, being able to do his job. People are asking, well, is it Ross Wilson who's unwilling to buy? But weirdly, he was in exactly the same position as Paul Mitchell. You'll remember when Paul Mitchell came in and he was silent for months on end. But it feels like history repeating itself again. People are saying, you know, is it Eddie Howe saying he doesn't want any players? He wants to keep the players he's got. Is that the issue? Unwilling to say, how many times, boys? I mean, I heard it again. I don't know whether it was this morning or last night about Jamal Lascelles leaving. It's like, he should have left ages ago. And I know there's been injuries and stuff like that in between, but the most exciting thing we've got to look forward to between now and tomorrow is Jamal Lascelles potentially leaving. But we were then told, but there won't be any incomings. So don't get too excited. And Matty Target is now back on everyone's lips as an option.
And he don't even want to stay. He doesn't want to come back.
He doesn't want to come.
No. He doesn't want to come back.
No.
He's gone. Sorry, Dan.
You know, yet our chairman, the governor of PIF, the chairman of Aramco says, I will not stop until Newcastle United become #1 in world football. And we're talking about bringing Matt Target, who doesn't want to come back to Newcastle. It just doesn't add up.
It's mental. It's absolutely mental. And, you know, the frustration from my point of view is, you know, as fans, and I think I speak for us too, us three boys when I say this, and a lot of people at home, I'm not asking us to go and spend 80 million on 5 players, you know, 80 million pound players. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about bringing in reinforcements. We're talking about bringing exciting young talent to the club. You don't have to spend, these ridiculous amounts. We're not suggesting you've got to go out and you've got to buy 380 million pound players every time you go into the window. But try and bring in players like, we spoke in depth, didn't we, about the likes of Rayan. Roll the dice, take a risk. 30 million, just have a go. And but Pete, sorry, the question I wanted to ask you was, you're talking about maybe I don't know whether we want to go down this line, but you're talking about in the summer having sitting down, who's working, who isn't working. I wanted to ask, maybe we can have a discussion around this for you at this present moment, and you get a table at the you get a seat at the table in those discussions. Who are you bringing to the table and why? And who are you suggesting that, perhaps should move on, or players that we should be looking to recoup some money for and go again? Who are those players?
I know who those players are in my mind. If you want me to share them, I will.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah. And we can discuss them. Yeah.
Squad game. Here we come.
Well, I know. It's a warm-up. It's a warm-up.
Yeah, it's a warm-up. I mean, my opinion may change between now and April time, early May, when we do squad game. I'll be honest with you, lads. The players that I'd be looking at to rip up and move on. The first one is one that may be controversial, that people might not like. If Bayern Munich want a striker, I'm moving on. Nick Voltemade. I'm moving him on. As much as I like him, if we're not going to play him in his rightful position, if we're not going to play to his strengths, he's not going to be successful at Newcastle United. And it's a really harsh reality, because I like the lad. I like everything about him. He's a silky quality player, but if we're not going to play to his strengths, if we're not going to play him in that pocket, he's not going to be a striker for me. He's not going to morph into a striker. And if Bayern Munich wants him in the summer, I think we should cut our losses and go, yeah, there you go.
And just to add on that, by the way, just to add a little bit to that, Nick Voltemade could work in that 4-3-3 system, but it needs to be blended. You can't have your out and out wingers pushing out wide. You've got to play with the 10s. We saw it with Villa. He's got to have players in and around him, and it seems that Eddie Howe is unwilling to do that. But you're right. You in your response, you absolutely correct in what you're saying. Eddie Howe's got this rigid system. He wants his wingers out there. He wants them cutting in, but Nick Voltemade hasn't got that support. So I agree with what you're saying.
And this is the thing that people are Harpo's put on there. Well, isn't the issue? I never said he was the issue. I'm saying we're not playing to his strengths. Our systems don't suit him. And this is the point that I made right at the beginning. So people are kind of mixing my words here. I'm saying that Voltemade, if we're not going to play him to his strengths and allow him to be the best version of himself, there's no point in being at Newcastle United, which I'm saying we might have to cut our losses and move him on. Okay? The second one, and people might not like this either, Johan Wieser. I'd be looking to move him on. Being honest with you, not to say he wouldn't be successful, but I think our striker situation's a huge issue, and I think last night was a big wake up moment for me. The fact that he played Gordon there and they were on the bench, there's no reason. They're both fit. They're both able to play. If he doesn't trust them in his optimum system, it means that they are not fit for purpose. And that's just a reality. The next one. Kaz have just put, are you for real? We spent 140 million on these strikers. Yes, I know we did. We've covered it all last summer. Okay? I'm sorry. It ain't working. It ain't working. And if it's not working, we need to rip it up and go again. Take the L, move it on. That's the reality. I love Nick Voltemade. I would love him to stay and be successful, but he's only successful in a completely different system.
Does this question the manager, Pete? And the reason I say that, we're not Eddie Howe. Everyone knows this on this channel. We're absolutely not. But the owner's looking at this and thinking, saying what we're saying in terms of, Nick Voltemade, we want him to be the guy. We need to change our system. It seems the manager is unwilling to change our system. Is it a case that you're looking at the manager and you're going, well, you know, we've got a really good player on our hands here, but a manager who is unwilling to play to his strengths, as you've just suggested. Is it? And it doesn't sound like it's Eddie Howe or Nick Voldemar that one of them's got to go. But I'm just posing the question. We love Devil's.
I was only throwing out players, but if you want to talk manager, absolutely. Look, in all of this, and I see loads of people in the chat going, "Oh, what about the manager? What about the manager?" Yeah, absolutely. The manager should be up for this conversation. Absolutely should, because ultimately he brought the players to the club, and so he has to take the L on that. He made the decision to bring these players to the club. It's not worked. So he needs to take responsibility for that. But if he changes, he's going to have to change his whole 4-3-3 style to create something new to allow Nick Voldemar to agree, to excel. I don't believe he's going to do that, which is why I'm talking about more so the player leaving than the manager. Now, look, the manager's up for discussion. I've already made my points on this. Anyone that watches this show on a regular basis will know. I've said in the summer, there was a high chance that Eddie Howe does leave the club. And so maybe that allows things to change slightly. I do think he may well leave. He may well take the England job. But from the comments, and Daz, you talked about it in a previous show, in the match preview, David Hopkinson's comments in the Time and the Pod and the Time live show, he talked about the fact that he sees Eddie Howe as the future. He's fully behind Eddie Howe, which makes me feel like if he doesn't take the England job, he's probably going to be here next season. And so that's the only way I see Eddie Howe leaving, if he takes the England job. Or another higher club come in for him. That's the only way I see him leaving. I don't see Newcastle United sacking Eddie Howe. I see him leaving to go to somewhere else. And that's the big thing. That might change a number of my decisions on players. I'm only giving my opinion on players moving on based on Eddie Howe still being at the club. I have to make that clear. If Eddie Howe's still at the club, we are still going to play 4-3-3. We are still going to play the same style. So therefore, Nick Voldemar probably would need to move on. Jan Wiese, I think, will need to move on. I think there's an argument that if Anthony Elanga doesn't make a significant improvement between now and the end of the season, I think there's an argument for him to move on. I actually think, as much as we like him because he's a Newcastle fan, family, etc., Jacob Murphy needs to move on. I think we need brand new wingers to come into this club. Brand new wingers that offer something different, that give us a different dynamic. There's an argument. I'm not saying all these players are going to go, but I'm giving you players that I think if we had the opportunity to, we should rip up and start again. Anthony Gordon's another one.
There's a conversation to be had around them, isn't there, Pete? There's a conversation.
And the reason why, I'm saying this is because our attack doesn't look the same. Our attack looks a lot more impotent this season than it ever has done in the previous two. That's a concern for me. And I think for some of these players, for some of them, they've been at the club for a while and I think they've done their cycle. For some of them, it's just not working. And we need to make sure we've got players in that it can work for. So I'm just giving you a perspective. That's just more of the attacking players. I do think, I'm not saying they'll all leave. I just need to make that point. So now I'll get comments in. Oh, these aren't all going to leave. It's unrealistic, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying if we had the opportunity in the summer to move some of these players on, they're some of the players that I would put forward to move on. There are others, but I'd be here for a while.
Do you want a quick fire, Chris?
Go on.
Same question. Do you want a quick fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Here's a sec. Right. Let's go through it. Ramsey, send them back. Don't want them. Nick Pope, second
Ramsdale.
keeper.
Yeah.
Ramsdale even. Yeah, Ramsdale. Sorry. Mark Gillespie, no comment.
I'll keep him.
John Ruddy, no comment. Malik Chow, definitely keep. Sven Botman, definitely keep. Fabian Schär, let's see what he comes back like after the injury, but I don't see what we wouldn't get much for him anyway, and he's a good utility player for us as an option. Dan Byrne he can't be a starter. This is from next season. That's what I'm talking about, from the summer on. Lascelles gone, if not already gone already. Lewis Hall, absolutely keep. Give him whatever he wants to keep him. Alex Murphy, in reality, he needs to go out and loan or go to a championship club. He's not getting any game time with us. Tino Livramento, again, need to sort out his contract. Keep. Obviously, absolutely class for us, but we'll have suitors in the summer. Kieran Trips will retire. I don't see him really with us next season. Kraft, I don't really care. Tonali, obviously, he needs to get back to his best form, but he's essential to us once he wants to be here as well. Bruno, obviously, he stays, not going anywhere. Ramsey, like what I've seen recently, I think we can see more from him. Keep him. Joe Linton, if really good in the last couple of games before he got injured, but at 29, if we got a decent offer, I would trade. Lewis Miley, again, definitely keep. He's a future captain at the club. Joe Willock, even though he's had a resurgence in the last 3 games, let's say, I would take the money if we got him, because he's 18 months in his contract soon, and I take that 20 million deal. But if, of course, obviously we need to bring in a midfielder this January, and that's not going to happen. Gordon, if we got a massive offer, I'd trade, but I'd like to keep him. Harvey Barnes, I'll keep. Again, if we got a massive offer, I'd consider. And I know this isn't reality; you can't trade all these players out. But this is just off the cuff. Alanga, I don't think we're going to get our money back. He did all right actually last night. He's starting to come into it. So I want to see give him to the rest of the season. So the judgment is out to see what we get for the rest of the season. Jacob Murphy, it's 30. He can put in a ball. So yeah, he's happy to be a squad player. Like Pete, Nick Voltman, and I said it, and I think 2 or 3 shows ago, that we're not playing to his strengths, and unless we do, there is no point, because he's not a number 9 striker like we know. He's a number 10, and if we're playing to his strengths, we can get the best out of him. Wisa, never really wanted him in the first place because of age and because of AFCON, which he didn't actually go to in the end. He is good, but is he what we need? And age isn't on his side either. Willisula, I don't know what's happening with Willisula either.
Isn't that interesting though, Daz? If you scroll up a little bit, just so you can see all the attacking players, and I think Pete alluded to this as well. So from Gordon down, right, on that list, basically what you've just said is there's question marks around all of them.
Yeah.
Not one did we go, he's staying, he's not like a Bruno or a Miley or a Hall, or every single one of those we were like, if we get a good offer, maybe, or maybe it's time to move them on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. So what basically our whole front unit, we've got question marks around all 7.
Yeah, it's not working. It's not working, Chris. It ain't working. And I just want to make a put really quickly. David Cook put, by Daz's opinion on the squad, we need that a new 25. That's not the point that we're talking about. We made the point at the beginning, David. We said, if there was an offer, for example, for any one of these players, Newcastle United should consider it. A lot of those players that Daz talked about will probably still be at the club next season. But what we're saying is we wouldn't be against any of these players moving on if there was an offer that came in. That was the point that Daz was making, and that was the point that I made with regards to the strikers, because the strikers and the attacking system isn't working for Newcastle United. We're nowhere near as potent, and of course we're not. One of the best strikers in the world, as much as we hate to say it, left the club in the summer. And I think that it needs to be more of a conversation now than ever, because I think it's very, very clear and obvious how good he was for Newcastle United, was Alexander Isak, and how much he knitted this team together, and how much he made players look better by what he then did by putting the ball in the back of the net. He made players look better. We haven't got that level of player. So what we need to do now is we need to reinvent this attack. We need to reinvent this attack. And it might mean some of those current players moving on. There's an argument of any one of them. I put Barnes in that conversation. Personally, I would keep Barnes. But there's an argument that if an offer of 35 million comes in for Harvey Barnes, there's at 29 years old, there's a chance that Newcastle go, you know what, we need to take that money. So there's an argument on him too. As much as people might not like that, I would like it. I'd like to keep him. But there's an argument on all of them. If Liverpool come in with 75 to 80 million, I think Newcastle accept. And I think Newcastle move him on. And I think they absolutely should. Because we need a new emphasis on our attacking play. And do we make that change to allow us to have better players around Nick Voltemade to get the best out of him? Maybe. Maybe that might be in Eddie Howe's thoughts. But we won't know that until what happens in the summer. But it's very clear that those attacking players do absolutely need to be ripped up, and something drastic needs to happen for that to change.
But the other thing is that we're not going to be able to do like the going through, as Pete said, going through all the list there. Obviously, all that can't happen. But we can't even do half of that or a quarter of that in a summer window. Where there's a World Cup taking place as well, so it's going to be reduced time to trade in effect with the World Cup in the States. So are we going to go into next year? And as we said, Pod in the Tyne little clip indicates that Eddie is their man, and then they want him to cook with Ross Wilson. So are we going to have another season of transition? This is definitely a season of transition. Are we going to have another one? And who can live through that?
This is the argument, Daz. It's a great point. It's a really, really good point. And this is the argument. It's so frustrating because the last time we signed someone in January was Anthony Gordon. And if we remember quite rightly, Anthony Gordon's first 6 months of the club weren't good. He wasn't good. You know, he kept getting subbed. I remember we were at the game where Southampton, I think it was. He got subbed at half time because he missed like 2 or 3 sitters. Ended up going on to win the game, and he was really poor. And then he scored that goal. And I was there at Stamford Bridge when he scored that goal last game of the season. And then he went off to the Euros, won the Euros for the under-21s, then came back and became that player because he needed about 6 months to bed in. What's the point of doing all your business in the summer to then I'll need those players a few months to bed in? Why not do it in increments? Look at what Man City did, for example. I'm not saying we go out and do what Man City did. I don't think we can. But Man City went and bought those a load of players, the Kusanovs and players like that in the January. So by the time the new season started, those players were then ready to go because they've had that bedding in period. Yeah. Some people have mentioned, one lad, I think in the chat just mentioned about Joe Willett. You know, we can't even sell Joe Willett. Well, this is what we should be doing. Yeah, Joe Willett. I mean, 20 million will still be on the table in the summer, in my opinion, for Joe Willett. So we'll still get it. But why not sell Joe Willett now and invest in a midfielder, have that midfielder for the rest of the season, and then allow him, like that midfielder, whoever it may be, might hit the ground running and be great, and that's perfect. Or let him have this season to really get into grips so he's ready to go next season. And he's already settled into the club and he knows what the expectations are. Why not make a couple of signings like that? That's why the January window's there, because Newcastle United should be continually improving the team all at the time. They should be chopping and changing, so it's not one drastic change like you've just mentioned, Daz. Because you're right. For all we know, we sell on players like Lascelles and Kraft and whoever end up leaving in the summer, and then we've got to replace those players. And if like a Gordon goes or a Joe Linton goes, for example, we've got to then replace those players who are starters. And all those players have got to then settle in. And you mentioned the World Cup. So really, you're not going to have a settled squad for pre-season until middle of or end of July, right beginning of the start of the season. So it's not even a summer like last summer where you've got a whole summer to bed in and change. It's going to be a very short, sharp, quick process because the players that we hopefully are looking at probably are at the World Cup and won't be then back from the World Cup because they'll be straight on holiday and then they won't be ready to be available until the end of July, back end of the pre-season going into start. All of this will happen. It's not going to be the same summer. It's going to be a lot of issues, which is why I think January was so important. And I don't get it. There won't be much business, in my opinion, might change. There won't be much business when the World Cup's on. There won't be. Naturally, there's not. Even when the Euros is on, there's not loads of business going on. But when we hit July, everything will kick in. But we need players to come in and be ready for pre-season, to get them in there, to get them training, to get them working, so they're ready for the season ahead. I don't get it.
So forget May 2026. See you in May 2027 when we say May start to gel again. Any other questions, Chris? My comments.
We have a number. We have a number of them. Yeah, DXL. I'm going to put this one up again. DXLE. He says, I think it says a lot about the current state of Newcastle United when we look a better team without either of our £125 million recruited strikers from the summer. Yeah, that comment came up earlier. DXLE, and yeah, I see your point. Let's see. Rich Joblin says, I think the Gordon selection was purely based on pace in behind their centre backs, which and that is what it will have been.
Yeah. I started that comment for a reason. So Anthony Gordon was selected because of pace. What does that say about Johan Wies's signing? He was meant to be signed to be that guy, to be the pace, to be the running. He looks anything but. Anyone watch him last night? He looks slow. He looks low of energy and enthusiasm. He doesn't look sharp, bang on it. Like, he's had his preseason now. He's had a lot of games and a lot of minutes under his belt. Like, we should really be seeing that guy kick on, and we're not. And the fact that we want to play that system, the Eddie Howe system, the fast-paced, high press, and he's having to get his left winger to do that instead of his striker that he paid 55 million for, I think it tells the story. It really does tell the story in that moment, and that's why I started that point, because it's a great point from Rich. But there's a bigger problem to that of why he selected Anthony Gordon, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, Wiese came here to play Champions League and get his goal. He's done that. Job done.
Do you know what? It's an interesting.
Literally, that's it, Dan. Literally, that's it.
Yeah. It's an interesting point you made. We heard. How much did we hear from Johan Wiese? He was desperate to make the move. He really wanted to make the move. And this is the problem, boys, when you sign players who are towards the end of their career. This was the big move for Johan Wiese. When Johan Wiese leaves Newcastle United, it's down. This is his pinnacle move. People have said it about Alexander Isak at Liverpool. Johan Wiese's on the mega money, the big fee, probably a big signing-on fee. He pushed for that move to Newcastle United. And this is the problem, isn't it, when you sign players who are towards the end of their career? Is Johan Wiese, not saying he's doing it on purpose, but is he almost a bit like, I've made it now. This is the pinnacle. This is my ceiling. And some people would argue and say, that fair play to him, he's done really well to get where he's got to. But do you lose that hunger? Do you lose that desire? People have questioned that with Alexander Isak when he started at Liverpool. He didn't look the same Alexander Isak that he did at Newcastle, because at Newcastle maybe he was thinking, I'm going to get my big move. I'm going to get Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool. Yeah, he's got his big move, and now Alexander Isak probably the same. Anywhere he goes after Liverpool will probably be down because he won't join. Yeah,
he ain't fussed. Not fussed. He's injured. He obviously wants to be playing, I imagine, but £400,000 a week. I'm sure he's crying into his paper money.
Yeah,
he receives it every week.
He's had that big rise, hasn't he?
When he gets that wage slip, I'm sure he's crying into that wage slip every week. But if lads, I'll put it out there. If I'm Newcastle United, we've given Wiese what he wanted. As Dad has said, Champions League. He's got his goal. Number 9, etc., etc. A certain Saudi Arabia, as we talked about, need to make some big signings in the summer. Lots of players leaving. New players need to be signed. Johan Wiese, 45 million.
Off you go.
Go do it.
After
go earn even more money in Saudi. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying if Newcastle want to be smart with it and they want to put their losses on certain players, that's maybe one option. Maybe.
Yeah, but that again goes back to the ownership, and use everything that's available to you. You use the Saudi market and influence. We're getting blocked by PSR restrictions and restricting us in every way, shape, or form. time for us to step up and do something about it. Be masters of our own destiny here, because we're getting nowhere. As someone said earlier, we're pissing into the wind when it comes to trying to compete with all the restrictions they're placing us.
Yeah. Mr. Lingfield says on screen there, this is on a 4-year contract. I think if on the 1st of July, a club offers us 40 million, sell, can't run, can't head the ball, and can't press. And in an Eddie Howe system, that's what he needs. That's what we need. So yeah, certainly an option. Whether or not Johan Visser wants to leave, or whether or not Newcastle can get him off the books, and Newcastle want him to move on, who knows? Jono talks about Alexander Isak here. Jono says, Liverpool gave Newcastle an ultimatum: give us Isak or we will take Ekitike, who was in talks with Newcastle at the time. We ended up losing both. That's on someone at Newcastle who, now, it was a long, protracted summer, wasn't it? On this channel, all the regular viewers who were watching, we were adamant that Alexander Isak was not leaving for anything less than 150 million. It wasn't going to happen. That was the price. Alexander Isak was staying. Obviously, he ended up leaving 125 million, and he waived his 5 million loyalty bonus. So Newcastle ended up pocketing 130 million for Alexander Isak, and obviously we lost out on Hugo Ekitike. We did see an interview, boys. I think it ended up in our group at some point, where Hugo Ekitike was asked about the move to Newcastle, and he basically said that the move was on. But then obviously Liverpool came in, and he's going to say that, isn't he? Liverpool came in and he wanted to move to Liverpool, blah, 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 etc., etc. And Liverpool, let's not forget, offered them significantly higher wages than what we were offering them. I think in the end, he ended up on 300 grand a week at Liverpool. At Newcastle, I imagine he probably would have got 150, 200 grand a week, something like that. But he would have been the main guy at Newcastle. I mean, it turns out he's the main guy at Liverpool anyway, due to Alexander Isak's poor form and injury. But yeah, he moved to Liverpool. But we've got to speak about it, I suppose, given the fact we played Liverpool. But do you look back on that on the summer and have any regrets? And do you wish it was done differently? And also to ask Jono's question, Daz, we ended up losing out on both fronts. Who is to blame in your opinion? Now you've had time to reflect on it and you look back over it. Would you have done anything differently? Do you think Newcastle need to learn from this going into next summer?
Would I have done anything differently? I think we should have. The three of us should have decided to shut down Loaded for that 2 weeks while Pete was on holiday and then I was on holiday, because we did a lot of shows and a lot of frustration. There were good shows, and at the time it was interesting the first week, that's for sure, when we looked like we were getting Ekitike, and it looked like we would have both ourselves, and we would be in a completely different season, that's for sure. And I can see what they were trying to do. They were thought they could convince the Rat, but that was never going to happen. So yeah, they do have to learn from that, but they have to learn from us in advance of getting to that stage of and effectively trying to keep a player who definitely wanted out and actually act on it. The time where Paul Mitchell wasn't giving them the contract that he was looking for, and so yeah, there has to be lessons learned from that. But are we learning lessons? What are we doing now? Where are we going next? Where is this project?
What are your lessons, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, look, I may have mentioned it before, but with the who was to blame for the Alexander Isak situation, I actually think Newcastle had the right intentions initially. I almost see it. They tried to almost do a little bit like what Spurs did with Harry Kane, because Harry Kane had said that he wanted to leave, and they fought against it, because obviously when he was close to going to Man City, or Man City came in for him, and they literally put their foot down and said, you ain't leaving. And he stayed, I think, for another year or maybe even two before he eventually went to Bayern Munich. And I think Newcastle had the intentions of doing that. They may have known that Isak wanted to leave, but Newcastle didn't want to sell. And they were saying, they would have been saying, give us another year. the big thing is I don't think they expected Isak to do what he did. You've got to remember that was the biggest contracted story of a transfer I think I've ever seen, and I think we lived it. So it was even more draining for us day in, day out. I don't think Newcastle United expected Isak to go to those lengths to leave the club, to refuse to travel to Celtic, to refuse to travel to pre-season training, to refuse to then train after that or be anywhere involved with anything Newcastle United. He literally refused. And Newcastle, I don't think, expected it. And I think at that point, I think Newcastle were then backed into a corner. So I don't think initially Newcastle did anything wrong. They had the right intentions of being that club to go, no, we want to keep our best player and sell him on when we're ready to sell him. But I think because of Isak's behaviour, I don't think they expected it, because I don't think he showed those personalities about him. I know people said like he dropped off and his attitude changed in training more, and maybe so. But that can happen with players when they're looking at wanting more money or a new contract. Happens all the time. But to do what he did in the summer, I don't think anybody expected it. We certainly didn't. The club seemed shocked by it. And I think that's what put us in this position. So it's hard to say. Maybe the ownership for dragging it on so long, because when we came back from pre-season, we could have just gone, right, get the deal done, and then just full focus. The deal was done and out the way. We can just fully focus on getting the player in that we need. And we didn't. We kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and it just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And maybe you could say the ownership, because I think by the end of it, it was really the ownership that kind of were digging their heels in. Someone's put in the chat, Yasser was the one that dug his heels in and demanded that he stayed. Maybe you could put the blame on him, but that's kind of how I see it. Newcastle have the right intentions, but ultimately we probably should have, after we come back from pre-season tour, just moved him on and just been done with it. So that's kind of where I would put any sort of blame. But even then, it's not a huge blame, to be honest. But yeah, with the Ekitike thing, the deal was done. Frankfurt were going to deal with this. It was all but agreed, and he would have come to us as well. But when Liverpool come in, as you boys have said, it is what it is.
Yeah. A few transfer related questions, and we'll have to go there, boys. We have already touched on it, but Travis Fickle asks, do PIF trust Eddie and Andy with the money? I'm not so sure that's the question, because I think we spoke about the Pod on the Time podcast with David Hopkinson, and he very much made it clear, he did to me anyway, that he had a role, Ross Wilson had a role, and Eddie Howe had a role. And the role of Ross Wilson is to bring in the players. Yes, he will do that alongside Eddie Howe and Andy Howe, and Steve Nixon and co. But it looks like the responsibility of bringing in players and selling players will very much fall to Ross Wilson. And Eddie Howe, his job is to manage the team, coach the team. But to follow on from that, DXLE says Eddie Howe says no when asked if to expect any Newcastle incomings before Monday. And Tangy Vivid says Eddie Howe after the game confirmed that there will be no signings after the game before the window closes. Do you think that decision was made by the owners? So Pete, on the basis of those mixed questions, but all the same kind of topic, you know, what are your thoughts about Newcastle's decision to not bring in anybody this January transfer window?
I think it's the wrong decision. I think they're making a big mistake by not doing it. I've outlined this for a while now. I think it's the wrong decision not making signings. I think it's going to potentially set the club back on moving forward a little bit longer by doing so. I see what they're doing. They want to do all their business in the summer and make this transformative change and do all their investments in the summer because apparently there's more value in it and all the rest of it. That's fine. But you still have to trade even in the January. They're making a big mistake, and I'll just leave it as that. They are absolutely making a mistake. Who's responsible for it? Both Eddie Howe. Because firstly, I'll touch on Eddie Howe. For me, as manager, Eddie Howe should be fighting more for change. He should be fighting more to improve his squad. He should be making more noise about it as a manager, saying, I need players. And the owners, but not saying to Eddie Howe, we need more. There's a chance here. It sounds really mad. What we are, 7 or 8 points off Champions League spots. There is still an opportunity to get there if we really wanted it. If we really wanted it and we went out and invested, I'm not talking about spending 100 million or anything like that, but trading, moving a player on, bringing a player in, etc., could still happen and improve the squad. It could make a difference. It could give us that fresh impetus in the team, and emphasis on moving forward, a fresh face in the room, someone that offers something different, a little bit of excitement for the fans. Us fans, look at us right now. On a Sunday afternoon, we're sitting here and we're all a bit despondent. We're all just kind of deflated, and I'm not really like this, but I've already got visions of how the season's going to go, and there's no optimism there really. We could get through the knockout phase of the Champions League and get to the round of 16. Amazing, really good, great achievement if we do that. But are we really going to win the Champions League? No. We could be out of the Carabao Cup by Wednesday. Most likely we are. We could be out of the FA Cup by the end of Feb. Most likely we are. And it's like, we know what we can see coming, and we've got no positivity to think that it's going to change. A signing or two would bring a little bit more hope, a little bit more optimism, a little bit more excitement to what Newcastle United are. Not just to us, but to the players, the manager. Give something different. This is why January is so important, and they're just throwing it away. So for me, I think both Eddie Howe for not pushing more for signings, and for the ownership for not pushing the manager to go, do we need players? Let's look around. Let's make it work. Ross Wilson, let's make signings. Here's this player available. Here's this player. Let's go and do a deal this month. They all need to take the L on it because they're all making a big mistake.
Daz, what are your thoughts, mate? On this January transfer window?
The transfer window is already done. If we were going to do something, we should have done it early January, the first week of the transfer window. I know it's a difficult window. I know we've seen who falls over and then maybe having to replace someone. But fuck that. We need to act not just for now, but for next season and the season after that. But so the transfer window is done. Apart from we were to accept an offer for Willock and we have a midfielder lineup, but I don't believe that's going to happen in the last remaining days. We're already in February, so it's not going to happen. And what the other thing is that at this stage, I don't want a statement from PIF and the owners of what they're going to do, what 2030, this, that, and the other, how great it's going to be. I want to see action, because they've been missing for a long time, and there's no point putting a new CEO who's only there a wet week in front of the media to say it either. But what are we doing here? What is our project now? If it's changed, fair enough. Where are we going with this now? It just seems to have stalled, and I don't know. It's not just a knee-jerk reaction to losing to Liverpool at Anfield, because that could happen anyway. It could happen next season, and probably happen the season after that. But where are we going? We want to see a vision here of what's happening, but also with some action included in that vision, because talk is cheap, and waving your finger saying we want to be number one in the world, anyone can do that.
Yeah. Sorry, Daz, I did laugh at this next one. But I will end it nicely. DXLE says, that's when you know Eddie has lost hope, when Alex Murphy comes on. I did think for you when I seen that.
I was surprised, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I really don't know there either. What's going on? Look, the lad deserves more than a few minutes on the pitch, and if he's not, he's no point just being a body like Bruno was on the bench. against PSG. It's no point just being like that. He needs some game time, and just for his own development as in his career. He should be out and loan if he's not getting anywhere near minutes on the pitch. And he's then in turn he's not getting to play in with the. I know he's training with the first team, but he's not getting to play in the under 21s or whatever either. So he's not getting proper game time. His development is going to be halted. He's going to end up like a Matty Longstaff if he goes on where Bruce did to him.
I actually see. Actually see him like going on and doing well at another club. I could see someone like Alex Murphy going to a Rangers or a Celtic and playing it in the Champions League, playing at a high level. Like even at that, just right now, like he's got a chance to really progress. But like you said, he's gone stale. I just wanted to bring this up really quickly.
Yeah, go.
I just read it. It just popped up on the Chronicle. Apparently, Newcastle were offered the chance to sign John Duran this month.
Oh God.
I saw that yesterday. I was going to put it in our chat. Graham Bailey had us on a list of clubs, about 8 clubs involved in the Premier League in the mix for John Duran. But it was like 5 or 6 hours old when I saw it. So I said, there's no point putting it in our chat now. But interesting. What kind of fee? It's not going to happen in January though.
I watched him against Villa in the Europa League, and he was okay. He wasn't great, but isn't he someone that you maybe can pull out a special moment, can do something a little bit different, can play maybe your style? I don't know. He's not amazing, but I'm looking at what Wissa and the other strikers are giving right now. I'm like, would he be the worst thing in the world? Would he be a better option than Asula? If we moved on Asula this window and got John Duran in, even on loan, and then you go and get your proper striker in the summer, knowing that Asula's already moved on. Like, would that be? I'll ask you this question, boys. Would that be an improvement to our striking ranks, bringing someone like John Duran in on loan and moving Asula on? Would that improve what we've got available to us, or keep it the same, or make it worse? In your opinion?
I think it'd be better. I think John Duran's proven. Yeah, he's proven he can do. He can do the business in the Premier League. We've seen it. He obviously got the big move to Saudi. Didn't work out. He's now at Fenerbahce. But yeah, if you were to offer me now, Will Asula to leave and John Duran to come in, I think it improves us.
You think the same, Dad?
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was in Fenerbahce, to tell you the truth. I thought he was still out in Saudi. I mean, I remember that he wasn't suited to the lifestyle or something in Saudi, or commuting to training and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm willing to give him, especially in loan. Why not? We've been crying out for, let's do a loan signing and see how that works, and we never do. So
that's what it says. So he's on loan at Fenerbahce from Al Nassr. But yeah, he's not. I think he says he struggled for form, and he'd like to come back to England. And I think his style suits the Premier League. I think his style, all action, pace. I think it is a
Colombian,
Colombian striker.
Yeah. We've had one of them before, haven't we?
We do like.
We do. Nice comment here from D. Bowman. Bad results. Great night in Galway. Great city. So yeah, nice.
Yeah, I consider going to that, Dave. And I know I met you at the last one, and then I thought, what if it doesn't go well? I don't want to be there then. I didn't make it in the end. I think a few things popped up. Well, cheers, man.
Few things to read out stats wise, and I'm going to hit you with a question, boys. So DXLE again says, I seen a stat on X that under Howe we have had only 6 away wins from home in the league versus top 12 teams out of a total of 50 games. It's a hell of a stat. Hell of a stat.
I've got it here. If you want me to read it, I've got it here.
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
It was put out on X earlier. It was actually sent to Alex from Alex Hurst of True Faith. That's how I saw it. It says, here's a stat for you. Since the start of the 2021 season, we've played 50 away games versus the top 12. and we've only won 6. Everton, Forest, Fulham, Spurs, Villa, and Brentford. They're the 6 games that we've won. Now I'm assuming it's where the teams have finished in that top 12. So it wouldn't count like the likes of Tottenham. Oh no, it does count Tottenham actually. I don't think it counts Man United because of where they finished. But yeah, just goes to show how bad our away form is.
Yeah, it does. It does. Tangy Vivid says Gordon scored and then his celebration was a bit subdued. He didn't exactly look happy. I don't think you can read too much into that, Tangy, and there's 2 reasons for that. I think the first reason is the fact that obviously he's a Liverpool fan, so maybe he'd react slightly differently scoring against his boy old club. And secondly, as well, for me, I think the reason that he acted probably the way he did, more cool and calm, was probably because he maybe has eyes on a move to Liverpool in the future and he doesn't want to burn bridges. That is what I would perceive it as. I don't know about you boys, but why do you think that? Because obviously normally when Anthony Gordon scores, he goes in the corner, he's got his guns out. It was quite subdued, but is that the reason? Do you believe that is the reason why? Or you think that may be part of the reason why? Pete smiling.
Shot window, mate. Shot window. I'm convinced of it. I'm sorry. People won't like it. This is not like me. I've been really negative today, but I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. That's how I feel right now. I'm just gonna be honest. This is how I feel right now as a Newcastle fan. I think it's definitely a performance and a celebration of a shot window moment. Come get me. He wants to get Liverpool. He'll be there at some point, lads. Yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think he'll come calling.
Well, if he's gonna go, Pete, if he's gonna go the summer, because we're not going to be in Champions League, so that's I think we better get accustomed to we're going to be losing 1 or 2 players that we have in our first 11, and I would rate highly that they're going to be on the move this summer.
And talking to players on the move, potentially Mr. Linkfield, he's gone into this cut your losses, if you like. He's saying from the 1st of July, we can sell Vissa for 39.5 million and book value won't be affected for PSR. Similarly, Nick Voltemade for 55.3 million and we are fine for PSR. And for Elanga, it would be 44 million and we would be fine for PSR. And I think he's looking at in terms of they've got so many years on the contract, it's split out over those years. So if you were to sell them for that price, you would basically be recouping the money that's left that needs to be paid for them. So it kind of gives you a ballpark as to where we would be in PSR terms. I think the 44 million for Anthony Elanga would be speculative. Nick Voltemade for 55, I think could be done. And higher than for 39. Yeah,
I think we could get about 60 for Voltemade from Bayern. I think they'd pay that. I know it's not what we paid all in for Nick Voltemade from Stuttgart, but I think we could get around that if we wanted to move him on. I think that's a fee that Bayern would be willing to pay. Kane's got at most a year left on his contract. He may well even leave in the summer. Who knows? They're going to need to look for a striker at some point. And if he has a good World Cup, for example, it could go in our favour. But I go back to my original point with Jan Wieser. Saudi. You get that money in Saudi for Johan Wieser. And even more specific, Al Hilal, who will by this summer probably be owned by a new ownership, not PIF. So that money and the Newcastle link won't be affected. There's who I'd be selling him to. Jan Wieser. If we can't keep him or he doesn't make significant improvements, I'd be moving him to Saudi. I would. You'd make that money back. You'd get 40 million for him, and then you're laughing. You go, put the L, cut the losses, boom, let's go sign somebody else. Yeah, I would. The Elanga one's probably the more difficult one. That'll probably, because of that, you ain't getting 44 million for Anthony Elanga. And I think for that reason, he's a player that will still be here next season. For that.
He could be the following summer. I think if Anthony Elanga, judging from the maths, Anthony Elanga, the following summer would be 33 million. That's probably more realistic. Probably more realistic. Right. Yeah, Kaz says, Chris, it's Eddie who doesn't want random players or loans. He makes life hard for the sporting directors. Again, that is a criticism that does keep getting pointed at Eddie Howe. I've just realised we have 2 super chats, so I'm going to go to them very, very quickly. Peter Kirkbride, thank you so much for your super chat. Next time, mate, get a little comment in, say something, and obviously we'll read it out. But thank you so much for the super chat, much appreciated. We also have Stephen Ken. And Daz, I'm going to come to you for this one because I think you've been banging this drum for a long, long time. But thank you for the super chat, Stephen Ken. He says, we have a guy in South America. Why don't we get any signings from South America? I
just don't know. I know they said before that they don't want to take a gamble on a South American that could and will potentially take time to adjust to life in the Premier League. Then this, Steve Nixon is all over Brazil as well, as in he's contacts. I know we have people in place there now. It should be an area that we're looking at. We also have Brazilians in our team who can recommend as well. But then it links into, again, I'm going to link it back to the ownership of are they going to go down this multi-club model? There was talk of that, and then it was like a halfway house to get into Newcastle that they could go on loan to our feeder club, let's say, and gain kind of acclimatise and build on that if they're really young. I'm talking about there. I just don't get it. Why it's not something we try and do. Then I suppose you could also link it back, go down the other way, and link it back to Eddie Howe and how he predominantly wants to get Premier League players. Or is our new setup with Ross Wilson and Eddie Howe going to go down a different route? And we look at European players, but again, why are we not looking at South America? So I don't get it. Maybe I don't need to get it, but I want to see some action from the club and what they're going to do, because we keep missing out on these players. We mentioned Marcus Leonardo earlier in the show. Pete mentioned Ryland. We've mentioned Santos before, who went off to Strasbourg in the similar capacity as a feeder club, and now he's Liam Senior's man for Chelsea as well. But what do we do?
Yeah. What do we do? Tony Thambridge is saying, bring back ASM. His contract terminated. Yeah.
Bring him. Free transfer. He's currently a free transfer. Bring him.
Love him back on the wing.
Just let him run wild for us. Give us something different.
Yeah. Oh, Peter Kirkbride has given another super chat. Thank you, Peter. Just haven't put that comment in. Get that comment in, mate. But no, thank you so much for the super chat.
Just go to that comment just above the super chat in the main chat if you've.
Sorry, mate. Go on. You click it on, mate. Click it on.
Yeah, because that answers Daz's question, or the question that was asked to Daz about the Brazil. So that's from Foxy.
I'm on for sacking him and putting Foxy as our man in South America. I think everyone will agree with that. So Foxy, whatever your career you're in now, you need to get involved in the scouting, and I trust your judgment in bringing him and bringing them in, getting them at the right price as well. There'll be no more big. Actually, that would solve a lot of things for us. PSR related issues as well, because Foxy would get them first at the right price.
Foxy Federspiel. That's his name.
Yeah.
So we'll get rid of Thomas Federspiel. Foxy Federspiel. That's your name. Brazilian scout. South American scout.
I liked this comment from Dave Langston. I think it's a really good point. Voltemada for Germany, the wingers play off him. At Newcastle, he has to play off the wingers. That's the difference. Very good point, that, Dave.
It's because they're completely different players. Like they're with Germany, like they've got Wirtz and Gnabry that can both be inside forwards, so they're not touchline wingers. Like we've got touchline wingers. We've got Murphy, who's touchline, Elanga that's touchline. We've got Barnes on the left and Gordon on the left that are both touchline. So They're the furthest distance away from Nick Woltemade that they can possibly be. That's the way they play. Whereas Wirtz and Gnabry are like that. So they're a tight three. They're a tight three, and they interchange. So they might come out wide, they'll drift inside, they'll drift into the number 10 and make runs in and behind him. It's a completely different style. You'll see it in March. Watch the game in March. Well, whoever they play, Germany. And he'll play up front with Wirtz, and it'll be Gnabry, or it might be one other, can't remember, and Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané, he can play touchline, but he can also come inside and play that inside forward role. That is very different. And this is what I'm saying. It's either you get rid of the striker because the striker doesn't suit the style, or you change the wingers to allow us to play that style. One or the other is going to have to happen, because this current system doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not fit for purpose. And this is why we're struggling so much. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Nightmare situation.
Absolutely. I'll touch very quickly on this. Seacrest boxers. If Tonali wanted to leave in the summer, it could be a good opportunity to bring Anderson back, or would you want to? So I think this is a two-pronged question. Would I want to bring Elliot Anderson back? Yes. Do I think we will? Probably not, because I think Forest would want too much money for him, if I'm honest. And then in terms of Sandro Tonali, we've heard rumours for the past few months, haven't we? That Sandro Tonali's a bit homesick. Sandro Tonali wants to go back to Italy. We keep hearing rumours of Juventus being interested in Sandro Tonali. But Daz, where are you with this on Sandro Tonali? Do you think there's a possibility Sandro Tonali leaves in the summer? But also, do you think there's a possibility Newcastle look at Elliot Anderson?
There's a possibility that Sandro leaves, yeah, because we're not going to have Champions League football. He's an elite player, even though he's not shown it now. Last season, he was absolutely unreal. Do I think we'll get Elliot Anderson? No. I think that boat has sailed, much like our Champions League ambitions, which I said in November had sailed then as well. I don't think I want to bring back Elliot Anderson because it's going to cost too much, and I don't want to spend all that money on Elliot Anderson when it's. I have this thing, guys. I don't know. I don't like when we sell a player and then try to buy him back again. I just let it go. Just let it go. Move on. And we're not. If we were able to trade and spend whatever we wanted, then yeah, bring him back. But no, we're not at that stage, and I don't think we ever will be for a long time, at least.
Pete, what are your thoughts on Tonali and Anderson?
Sandro Tonali, I would love Sandro Tonali to give us one more year, but I think if we don't get Champions League, which I don't believe we will, I think there'll be too many offers from too many big clubs, and I think he'll be sold. But I would love him to give us one more year.
Yeah,
I don't see him staying any longer than that. Elliot Anderson, for me, I would like him back at Newcastle United, but we are not paying the money that Forest are going to want for him. There is no way. There's no way. And when you've got the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, all linked with Elliot Anderson, like you're fighting a battle you ain't going to win. If it was a level playing field, I think Elliot Anderson chooses us because I think he'd want to come back home. But I don't think Newcastle United are ever going to be in that fight because of the money that's going to be on offer to try and get him out of that club.
Yeah.
The only way that's even remotely possible if Forest go down, and even then I still think it would be a significant fee that I just don't think Newcastle United are willing to pay. I think if there was a world in which Forest went down, and I think there might be some form of clause in his contract that if they go down, he can leave for a certain price, or his release clause price is slightly less than that. If that happens, and then we did sell Sandro Tonali, maybe we'd have a little bit of money there to put out a little bit more to get him here. But there's a lot of variables that would have to happen for Elliot Anderson to join Newcastle United or rejoin Newcastle United. So I don't see it personally.
No. This comment, two more questions, boys. Halv Mats, no stadium, no sponsors, No PSR challenge. The only difference is we spend our own money now, unlike under Ashley. Basically, Matt is saying nothing new. And you know what? I left this one on because, you know, it does still baffle me that we haven't got that stadium sponsor, we haven't got that training ground sponsor, we haven't got the training kit sponsor, and we see all. But how long have we been talking about this, boys? A lot of this was pointed at Peter Silverstone, who's now left the club. But how long is it going to take for us to do that? Are we waiting for a new stadium? Which doesn't make any sense to me, because you could still sign a deal now for 2 or 3 years. This stadium isn't happening in the next 3-4 years, let's be honest. So why are we not utilising that market? Why are we not trying to get those big sponsors in to ultimately improve our revenue? It's a huge question mark for me. What are your thoughts, Daz?
For me, I agree with that, with everything that how Matt has said there. No stadium, no sponsors, no PSR challenge, and yeah, look at no project. We don't know where it's going. We want to be number one according to our chairman. What are we doing? Show us. It's not good talk. Talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words.
And you could argue as well, Pete, what Harv Matt has said there. The only difference is we spend our own money now, but we're not even doing that. We're being told that PSR is holding a noose around our neck, but as fans, we know that it's not. This is why everyone feels a bit disgruntled, a bit disheartened, because we know we've got money for this January. We know we have, but Eddie Howe's saying that we can't because of PSR. Other people are saying it's because we don't want loans. Other people are saying it's because Eddie Howe's not going to be making the decisions. We're going to be bringing a new manager in the summer. Where are you at with Harv Matt's comments? Because I think it's a great point, and everyone is thinking the same.
Yeah, the stadium thing has been frustrating me for the last year. We know the stadium thing is the big change. The stadium thing is the big one, because and look, we'd have to wait for it, but when it arrives, we are in the same ballpark as that big six. You know, the revenues and everything that comes with it is going to take us into a completely different stratosphere. So why are they not maximizing that now? It just doesn't make sense. There's something not right with regards to that. The training ground, it looks like, is going to be announced sometime soon, and that will be transformative. You know, in the next couple of years, we will have one of the best training grounds in the world, if not the best. And therefore, you know, attracting players to the club will help, because a training ground does attract players to the club. People don't think it does, but it absolutely does. When you've got quality, world-class facilities, it does want the best players want to be in there. You think they're in that training ground more than they're probably at home, or certainly more than often than they are in a stadium. They want it to be world-class. They want it to be top level. And so that's a big change, and hopefully that comes soon, because that will show that the ownership are willing to back Newcastle United in a particular project. So that will fill me with confidence that maybe the stadium will come potentially the year after. But I think it should have already been announced now, because that should have been the priority. Get that stadium up and running, get it started to be built. Give us some optimism that we're looking to really kick on and go in the right direction. I would love them both to be announced, but I just don't see it. With regards to the PSR challenge, Newcastle United were never going to rock the boat. I was always clear on this. With regards to PSR, they were never going to fight PSR in the courts and all the rest of it, like Man City have done. They just weren't going to. It was just never going to happen. Newcastle United were always going to try and toe the line and do it the right way, because we were told quite early on that that's how Saudis do it. They like to toe the line. They like to do business in that way, not just in football, but just in everything. They'll do it above board, and they won't try and fight these things. And so I never expected it. The fact that we are spending our own money, absolutely yes. Do I think we need to be doing a bit more? Absolutely yes. And this is what we're waiting for. We're waiting to see them really kind of properly kick on and do more. And as you boys have just said, you know, we've heard a lot of talk from the likes of David Hopkinson and not so much from Ross Wilson, which is not a bad thing, by the way. But we've heard a lot from David Hopkinson about what we need to be doing, which is all great, and it's all rosy, and it's all happiness and rainbows. And now put it on the table. Put it on the table and show us. Don't just keep talking about it. As the boys have already said, we need to see it in action. So what I need to be seeing now, before now and the end of the season, what we all need to be seeing is within the next month or so, a training ground being announced with details about what it's going to look like to give us some optimism. What we need to be having is at the end of the season or start of pre-season, a brand new training ground. Brand new training sponsor, training kit sponsor. Big deal. What I'm hoping to see, because apparently it's our last year with Seller, our front shirt sponsor, I'm wanting a massive deal, a big deal, bigger than Seller, a brand new front of shirt sponsor, a brand new front of shirt training ground sponsor, a double whammy sponsorship that's going to kick us on and put us on to a different level. That's what I want to see from Newcastle United. I don't think we'll see it between now and then the season, but I'm expecting it in the summer. They're the big things that I want to see in the short term from Newcastle United, outside of what we see on the pitch.
Yeah, I like that. I like it when they need to power up.
Yeah, dial up. Yeah. Last question, and it's more a comment, really, I think. But DXLE says, Cesc Fabregas is a young, vibrant manager. Young superstars want to play for him. Nico Paz, etc., who's obviously on loan from Managerial. Doing wonders with Como. I would go all out for him in the summer and take the risk. Again, we're not talking Eddie Howe out. We're not saying Eddie Howe, needs to go or anything like that. But obviously, we've all acknowledged that a conversation will need to be had in the summer, and it will depend how the season finishes. Pete, you were talking earlier about Germany and the way that they set up and the way they utilise Nick Woltemade. Julian Nagelsmann, he's obviously Germany manager at the moment. Could he be the guy? It says Fabregas, someone you'd be looking at. What are your thoughts? I mean, particularly on Cesc Fabregas. What do you think? And do you think Cesc Fabregas will move to a new club in the summer?
I don't think Como will be able to keep him for very long. I think they'd want to keep him. They're giving him everything right now to be the best that they can possibly be. Some of the players that they've attracted, I mean, they've got Alvaro Morata as their striker. I think he's injured at the moment, but Como attracting players of that ilk. Paz is just superb. Malik Chow would have been there had it not been for Newcastle's interest, because that deal was done. Think about the players that they're attracting to that club and what they're doing to teams. What they're doing to just on like Nagelsmann for me, and Daz, you mentioned him as well. It would absolutely be an option just for the fact that I think he'd get the best out of Nick Woltemade, and I think he'd produce a style that would be really, really good, attractive attacking football for Newcastle. But on Cesc Fabregas, for me, he's grown on me a lot. I've been watching a fair bit of Serie A, to be fair. So I've been keeping an eye on Thiago Gabriel at Lecce, the young centre back that we've been linked with. He's quality young centre back, and I've been watching them, and they're impressing me, and he's impressing me with his management. He is a manager that is willing to make tactical changes. He's willing to make tactical changes for the team that he plays against. So Cesc Fabregas in some games will set up as a 4-3-3 attacking formation. He'll also, in certain games, play a 4-2-3-1 with that number 10 in that position. And it works. It works really well. And I can see him coming into Newcastle, if he did, and play that 4-2-3-1 and make it a really successful position for Nick Woltemade to thrive in that little number 10 role, just to link in with the striker. I like what I'm seeing from him. He's brave. He's a manager that likes to attack. He likes to play football in the right way. I think he's got all the fundamentals that Newcastle United would love and our fans would love. Cesc Fabregas, I think he would be a really good manager. But again, goes back to the point. He hasn't been tested at the top level, so it is a risk. Would it be a risk worth taking? Possibly. I like him. He's really impressing me at the moment. But again, with any manager that comes in that hasn't been proven at the top level, it is a risk. And so therefore, it's one to keep an eye on. Obviously, we don't know what the situation with Eddie Howe is. We were saying earlier, it's likely that from what David Hopkinson said, that Eddie Howe's going to be here next season unless England come calling. But if they do, if Cesc Fabregas is not on the list, I'd be very, very surprised. Very surprised.
And Daz, same question to you about Fabregas. I'm throwing this one in here. Not my suggestion, and some people will jump on this and go, "What are you talking about?" Just a question from Jono. If Carrick doesn't get the job in Man United in the summer, should we consider him if Eddie Howe moves on? There's been a lot of bigging up of Michael Carrick, and we know that Michael Carrick, kind of learnt his trade, if you like, at the likes of Middlesbrough previously. We know he's a Newcastle United fan, born and bred. Is he someone, as well as Cesc Fabregas, depending how Man United do for the rest of the season, is he someone that could be on Newcastle's list going forward? What are your thoughts, mate?
I know, Chris, you're on Fergie time. I saw the signal there to you. But Carrick, no, I want Carrick to stay at Man United. I want him. Bear with me here. I want him to do okay, so they give him the job, and then I want him to fuck up and put them right back where they should be. That's what I want. So let Carrick has a job to do there. On Fabregas, I've never even seen Como play, so I can't comment anything to do with Fabregas. And for me, I don't like the idea that it's all set in stone. Even though I want Eddie Howe to exceed, and I'm happy for him to be our manager next year as well. Stick with me here, but he has to go through, be judged on this season, and we will judge him come the summer. We'll make a call ourselves. But it doesn't make any difference to things. We'll make our own call whether he should stay or go. But I don't like that. It does seem like the club have already made the decision. No matter what happens, he's here next season. From the listening to the clips from the chairman or the CEO, sorry. When it comes, if there comes a time when we are looking for a new manager, I want them to get the best possible manager out there. And see what they interview them, see what they want to bring, see what's different to what we already have, how they're going to change things. We're not starting from where Eddie Howe came in. We're at a totally different level. And as Pete mentioned towards the start, we're not talking about building in project players now. We need players that are going to hit the ground running, or more or less hit the ground running when they come to Newcastle. So it's a different project, for want of a better word, if and what is the project that they're walking into. So then that has to suit them as well.
And Pete, I'm not putting it up on screen, but I did shortly just then. St. Carell wants to ask you about Rafa. What about Rafa?
No, thank you. No, thank you to both. No to Rafa. Get lost, Yusuf. No to Rafa. No, he can stay in Greece. And 100% no to Michael Carrick. No interest for me. No interest whatsoever. And someone asked the question, about Fabregas. I think it's Man City fan, Ed Mang Therapy. Fabregas wants a top job that will back him and his philosophy. Is that Newcastle? Absolutely. If we're talking of Eddie Howe already left the club, I think we need to bring his philosophy to Newcastle United, because I think his philosophy and the way he wants to play football is exactly the type of thing that our fan base, our club wants. I think he brings that football to Newcastle United. Keep an eye on Cesc Fabregas. He's doing really good things at Como, and they're up there as well. They're up there challenging for European spots at the moment in Serie A. They're a really good football team to watch. Really, really good. And they've got players, with all due respect to Como, that have no right to play for Como. They've got some talented players. And the one factor, Eddie Howe's built it up over years, but one factor that Cesc Fabregas has got is bringing a certain quality of player to the club, just because of who he is. Because he's Spanish, he could bring a lot of... Unai Emery does this really well. He brings technical players to the club, and they're attracted to come to play with a manager. Like, he'll bring a lot of Spanish players over. Cesc Fabregas has done the same. You think Nico Paz would have gone to Como if it wasn't for Cesc Fabregas, knowing that he's a Spanish legend, played for Barcelona, played at the top level of football? You think Nico Paz is going Como if he wasn't there? Not a chance. So it's the level of player he might be able to attract to come and play for Newcastle United. That's the intriguing part as well. And that, I think, after Eddie Howe, needs to be in the consideration of whoever they decide to be Newcastle United's next manager. What stature have they got? Can they bring that quality of player? So when you're negotiating or battling with another club, for example, and you're battling over fee, it might just tip the boat that player wants to come and play with that manager. I want to go and play for Cess, or I want to go and play for Nagelsmann, or whoever it is that comes in. That needs to be Newcastle United's thought when that next manager comes in, because that can tip the boat on a player coming to us, and it can make all the difference. Really, really important.
That would be an interesting one for me. It's not going to happen, but it would be very interesting.
He ain't coming back to England for me.
Nah. I think he's already said he wouldn't manage another club in England. I think he said that.
Yeah, I think he might open up for, if Nagelsmann goes, I think he might well go to Germany and do the national job. But I just don't see him. I don't even really see him coming back to club management, if I'm honest with you. I don't see it. But I don't know. Who knows? Stranger things have happened.
They have. Right, boys, and that's it for the questions. We've gone a little bit over there, haven't we? But very, very good discussion.
I think we're all on Fergie time with the best halves.
Look, thanks for coming and spending your Sunday morning or afternoon with us, or wherever you're watching in the world. But make sure you smash that like button as well. Look, there are going to be some highs still left in the season, so it's not all done and dusted yet. But big changes ahead all over the departments at Newcastle United. Be interesting when we get to October. It will be the project. It will be 5 years since the takeover. All right, then what kind of situation are we in then, and where are we going? We'll have another summer window over us. Where are we sitting? How is it all looking? Are we still in Europe? Are we not? Where are we going next? Who's in charge? Anyway, we will see you on the next one. See you next season. No music. We're just going to play out with this. See you soon.